Welcome in to the U.S. Open DFS preview show. Long time no see. Last show was the for golf was the Masters. I mentioned on that show that kind of wanted to at least do some of the big tournaments this year. So back for the U.S. Open. Awesome tournament coming up, I expect this week. Pinehurst is a place that I'm familiar with, compared to a lot of these places on the PGA Tour. I've played this place 3 times, of course, from an amateur perspective. Trying to compare that to what these guys are going to see this week is quite different, but some similarities. So we'll try to touch on those, and I can kind of talk about how what I've seen, I think can translate a little bit over. But of course, these guys are 5 million times better than I. So, they're things that are scary to them or scary to me or not scary to these people at all. Before we hop in, if you haven't joined us in the Discord, be sure to grab a copy of the cheat sheet. All the links are in the description of the video. You can choose weekly, monthly, annual subscriptions, get you access to the Discord. All the sheets are posted within each Discord channel. We have tons going on right now across all sports. We have golf, of course, baseball every day, NASCAR, all series each week. NHL and NBA are winding down with both finals there. We have soccer about to kick back up with Euro. The tournament there starts Friday. Tennis on and off, definitely for the majors. But that one is free. If you ever want to hop in for some tennis action, that is free if you join our Discord on a free trial. And then, of course, we'll have, the off-season sports kicking back up as well. With college football, NFL, college basketball later in the fall. So be sure to join us. Got a lot going on always, and really excited, about what's coming up here. So gonna kind of hop right in, talk about the course. You've probably watched some preview shows that talks about, the runoff areas, so on and so forth. So I'm going to try to just maybe give it a slight different perspective as to what I've seen and how I think that translates. And I'm going to take some stands this week on, certain types of players that I just don't think are going to get around here very well. And, could one of those surprise? Obviously, they could come in with a completely different game plan than I expect and really, punish this place, or, not get punished by this place, should I say. And it has to start at the greens, and everybody starts at the greens. Iron play is pretty important, of course, this week, but, the runoff areas, the greens aren't as big as they look. You're going to have, pretty big runoffs. You're going to not have any rough around the greens to catch these balls. You're going to have variety of options, and a lot of this you've probably heard across the industry through previews. But you just have so many options when you get around the green. And personally playing, of course, I'm not a very good golfer, but when you're playing this place and you stand up over one of those around the green shots, from my perspective, it's just a scary shot. You have to clip the ball perfectly. Can these guys clip the ball perfectly? Of course they can. But there are, some guys that we'll talk about. Specifically one, that I have in mind is Victor Hovland, who I think if he don't use the putter a lot around these greens, that he's going to be in trouble. Doesn't do very well chipping from tight lies. So that's something that I'm looking at. Can't really look at that on the sheet here. We have, some more general stats. Can't really filter quite as much just yet. Maybe that's something that we can add later on, filter by course, so on and so forth. But, that's something I'm looking at on other stat sites that you can filter, maybe, scrambling from the short grass or chipping from the fairway or, something to that effect is really important this week. You're going to have some people that are chipping. You're going to have some people, normal chips. You're going to have some people that are playing, 4 or 5 irons. You're going to have some that are doing a mix, some that are strictly putting. Of course, the famous one is Keimer didn't bring out a wedge at all throughout the tournament in 2014. Just done it with the putter. And I think, there's some players, and he's not a magician around the greens by any means. So I think there's some players like a Victor Hovland that they need to come out with a game plan, in my opinion, of trying to use that putter. And there's some talk about maybe the surrounds are a little thicker, hairier than they were in 2014. I still think it's very doable, to putt around these greens, but that's still not an easy shot. Lag putting, if someone, is going to use that strategy, lag putting is a major key around this place. From my perspective, you can easily putt or chip these through the other side of the green just because of how quickly they run off. As far as, when you hit greens, still got to play quite a bit of break, in my opinion. But I think that good putters, in most cases, and I think what that plays into is good putters are going to, play well here if they're firing somewhat with their irons. There's a couple guys that I think, from eye test and stat wise really fit this place. I think distance is definitely going to be key, but we're going to see a lot of run out. That's going to bring some of these mid-range, length hitters to the table. So I'm prioritizing, of course, iron play. I mean, we look at that every week. We look at, can they keep the ball in play? That's, of course, important. But probably more than most weeks, I'm looking at putting and around the green. And it's back to what I was talking about on these stat sites. It's kind of hard to just look at a generic around the green metric and think that that's going to be, like it is around here. I mean, just compare it to last week. Last week at Memorial Valhalla, same thing. You had, very thick rough that caught balls right around the green. Not big runoff areas with tight lies. You just had thick rough that you're hitting out of, and that's nowhere close to the same. I mean, you can't even, around the green at Memorial doesn't even compare to around the green at Pinehurst. So I think, you've got to be careful with maybe the courses that you're looking at. That's why I was talking about scrambling from the short grass, something to that effect that we can look at to narrow down the around the green play. I think something else this week, and I'm going to do more of this tomorrow. Haven't done a lot of this yet, but listening to maybe some people talk about their strategy for the week, I think is going to be key. If somebody just kind of doesn't seem to have a specific strategy, I don't like that. Keimer, perfect example, came in here in 14 with the putter. He knew that's what he was going to do all week and stuck to it, paid off. He trounced the field. I think we see I really think we see some of this short game, play a major factor. People who are, ranked way down the list in short game, is not, they're not going to be, very much on the list for me. Something that I actually ran the, let's see, scrambling from the short grass over the last 50 rounds, and a couple people that stood out in that metric was Hatton. Let's see who else really stood out. Rory was solid in that metric. Brooks was solid in that metric. Number 1 in the field number 2 was Mackenzie Hughes. Makes sense. Number 5, Grazerman. Don't think I'll be getting there. 4, Sam Bennett. Just not many rounds there. Takumi Kanaya, again, not many rounds. So of the top options, that Alex Noren sounds like a great fit for me. Brooks, of course. Let's see, where else were we? Denny McCarthy. Some of these guys are making sense. Brendan Todd, a lot of short game, type guys. Robert McIntyre, Daniel Berger, Eric Cole, Yeager is solid in that look as well. So there's just some of the guys that stick out in that metric. But let's hop in. We will go, kind of through the tiers quickly. I want to, really spend more time on strategy than just talking about plays. But I just did something that I'm looking more and more at this year is, the Pinnacle outright odds and comparing those with matchups, which I've not done the latter yet, but I did just push a update on the Pinnacle outright odds, which feeds over into our DK value rank, which just looks at, where they ranked in the field, number per odds. Are they 5th on the odds board and 4th in DK price? And it compares those two to see, major discrepancies between, all right, what are some of these, like just for example, Patrick Cantlay, Wyndham Clark come in way down the odds board on Pinnacle, but they're, in the 9K range. So their value ranking is very bad, 135 and 143 in this field. Way overpriced for their odds per the sports book. And that's something that I want to touch on first, because it's, again, it's something that I've really been using, as to get a gauge of, where are Pinnacle, which I trust as a sharp book. It gives me a good idea of who are they valuing on this course, and then I can kind of get a feel for, well, what are they valuing when they are looking at things. And so some of the people that rate out really well in that as of tonight, I'm going to sort this. It's probably going to mess everybody up who's on here. But you've got number 1 is actually Mac Meissner, 5,800. He's 250 to 1 on Pinnacle. That is the number 1 value rank. He is number 56 in odds, but he's 90th in DK price. So that's one that I want to dig into a little bit more. He comes out, right in the, kind of 40 average of the 2 models that I ran. And, I think it's the major and the toughness of this course that gets me a little hesitant there. But, the odds are telling you that he's the number 1 value based on his DK price. Sepp Straka, number 2 in that metric with Nick Dunlap. Straka, I think that makes him very popular this week. 77 to 1, 6,500 on the odds board. Been playing really well. Let's see. Russell Henley's another guy in the 6K range that rates out pretty well in that. He rates out really well in my model. So I think Straka and Henley, and that's, getting into overall strategy here of, you got Scotty Scheffler at the top of pricing. But, you know, the question always is, well, can we fit him at 13,000? Well, I think the answer this week is going to be an overwhelming yes, because of those two guys I just mentioned, Henley and Straka. Good plays in the 6K range overall, and there's not just those two. There's even more. I think it pushes his ownership way up the board. Could lower some of these guys just below him. But I think you can play two of them pretty easily if you're, okay playing a couple, maybe even three 6K guys. And I think it's not a crazy outlandish take to do that. When I mix everything together, Xander actually comes out number one. If you look at the stat model, look at the value rank, look at the odds, the U.S. Open history, current form. Xander actually comes out one. Two in my model currently is I'm completely overlooking, so I'm just going to sort. Hideki Matsuyama, 8K, rates out well everywhere. And that's something you notice in the DK value in the top ranges, 8K and above. You don't have very many that rate out, in the top, just because there's not many people, above them to make the difference very big. Whereas at the bottom, they can be, you can see some drastic differences. But when you see somebody like a Hideki who's 21st in the DK value ranking and 8K, makes me look twice, and he rates out good in my stat model. He ranks out good in U.S. Open history, on the odds board, recent form. I think Hideki is a very good play. Again, all these guys, I think you're going to need to watch ownership. I'll have my finalized ranks cores up tomorrow. Going to try by midday. So that's something that I'll, of course, be looking at before, but just to kind of give a good feel of who are some of the good plays. And it's not, always a good thing just to get off of somebody because they are chalky as well. Another guy who pops in that value ranking of, mid to higher price guys, not in the 6K range, is Sahith Theegala, 7,600. I don't love him around this place. I think to me, he's just not somebody that I play very often. Could he play well? Yeah. I think the short game isn't exactly where it needs to be for him. It's kind of fell off a little bit as his irons and other areas of his game have come up, but he rates out fine in the model. Both models that I ran there rates out really good on the odds board at 50-1 on Pinnacle compared to some of the others in this range. Back to the top quickly though, Scotty, I think, there's no problem to play him. He's probably going to be 40 to 50% owned. And, you just got to make that decision. You're either going to be in the half that plays him or the half that doesn't. There's not huge. I kind of like to think that, there's leverage, but there's leverage either way. At that point, at 50-1, it's like if you play him, you're in the 50% that played him. If you don't play him, you're in the 50% that didn't. It's going to flip flop one way or the other. You're either going to knock, if he wins by 5, you're either going to, if you play him, you're in great shape. You knock the other 50 out. If he finishes 10th, or 15th, then you're good in the 50 that didn't play him. But so I think either way, you just got to kind of make that decision on Scotty. He's playing the best in this field. Great course fit. I think he wins this week. That's not a hot take at all. But what does that make you do with Rory, Xander, there at the top, and then we drop down all the way pretty much to 10K. I'm a little undecided as to what I will do with Rory and Xander at this point. My current lean is that I'll play Scotty, try to get different with the mid and the values and how I build with him. I think a lot of people will play and pair together Scotty and a Morikawa type build at 94. He's playing really good. Rates out very good in a lot of areas. I think he's a solid fit here, but he's going to be very popular too. So starting out with probably the two most popular at 9K and above probably isn't the best way to go, especially if you're going to go down and play Straka, Henley, some of those guys. Bryson and Brooks, they're right at 10K. Bryson's tough because he's got a plan. Is the plan the right one? I don't know. Is he just going to try to go back to the bomb it and figure it out type of game plan? I don't think we're there with Bryson anymore. But can he dial it back enough that he's not? And maybe he doesn't need to. Maybe he just plays the bomber route. Hopes to get lucky if he does miss the fairway. And around the green, would be my worry for him. Does he putt around these greens? Does he have the chipping figured out? I think that's the hardest part for Bryson. Brooks, I think he's a very solid play as well. Always like Brooks in majors for the most part. He finished Sunday, and a lot of people, probably didn't see it. But he finished Sunday with the best round of the day at Live Houston. I think it was like 7 under. Does it mean anything? I don't know. He won the Live event right before the PGA, and didn't help him. But I think ultimately the way that Valhalla played out, it just didn't fit what Brooks does great in majors, which is not make mistakes and grind over the days. This place is going to suit that a whole lot more. He had a very solid finish here back in 2014 when he wasn't even at the top of his powers. He was fourth. Great U.S. Open history from 2014 there when he was fourth to 18th to 13th, to back-to-back wins, to a runner-up in 19, fourth in 21. U.S. Opens are his thing. And, I think Brooks is a very fine option. We dropped down in the 9s. Hovland and Aberg. Already talked a little bit about Hovland and my worries for him. That's going to be an ownership, thing for me. If he's chalky, I'm going to take my chances that he can't do what, I think it's going to play out around the greens the way I think it does. And I'm going to fade, the chalk. Even if he's, mid owns, 10 to 15, probably won't be there either. If he, for whatever reason, was to be really, really low, maybe he comes back into consideration that, maybe hits a bunch of greens, plays lights out this week. But as of now, I'm out on Hovland. Aberg or Aubert, 96. Big talent, but, can he strategically get around this place? I think he can. He's shown that he can play well anywhere. Not one of my top favorite, options, but, of the 9K range, he would definitely be second for me in the 9Ks, which there's not many in the 9Ks, but Cantlay, Wyndham are not in consideration for me. Colin would be the overall number one play, but, he's going to be the most owned as well. Maybe you take a shot on Aubert because I would prefer him over Hovland at this point. I think he's fine coming off the injury. But Colin would be 1 in the 9s for me. Aubert 2. Um, you probably lump Bryson and Brooks into the 9s as well, just because they're at 10 and 10-1, and it's a big increase up to Xander. So if I was doing that, it would be 1 Brooks, 2 Colin, 3 would actually be Bryson for me, just to hope that he has the game plan figured out the right way. And then Aubert, then Hovland, of the 9 and 10K range. Into the 8s, there's a lot of plays that we can get excited about. Already talked about Matsuyama. That's just going to be, and I'm not going to fade him just because of ownership, but if he's, mega chalk, then I might, think about making some changes there. Cam Smith is going to be pretty popular. He fits this place really well from an around the green perspective. Tommy Fleetwood, I think he is a great fit here. I think, he's kind of top of my list as a guy that's on my short list for single entry type stuff there at 85. Fitzpatrick played well last week at Memorial. Finau is just a no for me. I don't trust the short game at all. Zalatoris, the rumblings are that he likes this place. Pinnacle odds that don't like him at all. I think I'm out on Willie Z at 83 this week. I don't love like I said, the short game for him. So, I'll kind of let it happen without me there. JT, the game suits, but is the form there? That's the question with him. Homa, I'm just not on. I don't think he suits this place very well. So out of this range, Tommy and Hideki are the top 2 for me, followed by Cam Smith and Matt Fitzpatrick. And that's really it. I don't know that I'll have any JT, probably no Finau, no Holman, no Zal. And we'll drop down into the 7s. So before I hop out of here in a bit, I'm going to play around with some builds just to kind of show you, all right, if we throw in Scotty and Brooks, what do we have to do to get back up, and have a solid lineup? Or can we play Scotty and then 2 or 3 of these 8K guys? How many can we actually fit in? Can we get 2 and go down? And what do we have to sacrifice? So into the 7s, Jordan Spieth fits the place pretty well, but is the form there? Is he injured? Odds don't love him. Same with Hatton. Odds don't love him. My model likes him quite a bit. Quite a bit. Does he have the short game? Yes. The long irons have been firing this year. Where did he finish in Houston? Just to see about the form where it's trending. 18th. He's on the fringes for me. Shane Lowry is coming off of like a 90 on Sunday at Memorial. Don't think I'll be there. Don't think this type of place is exactly what we're looking for Shane. Sahith, like I said, the odds like him quite a bit in the range of DK pricing. Cam Young, I'm out on. J-Day, in a possibility here, just because the short game. DJ out. Double check this on the stats on the back end, but short game for I just got a note saying something about being offline, so I hope that you guys can still see. Let me know in the chat if you guys can still hear me. But Minwoo Lee is an interesting touch for me this week. The All right, guys, it kicked me out there right after I saw that message. It just kicked me out of StreamYard here. So should be back. Hope you guys can still hear me now, or hear me again now. So let me know again if you guys can still hear me. But talking on Minwoo Lee, the short game from the eye test is impeccable. Let's see. He doesn't rate that great around the greens. Big driver of the golf ball. I think he's got and this is again, this is just like because the odds or the stats aren't really backing me up on this. But let me take a look a little deeper at. Let me take a look at this stat that I was talking about of the scrambling in the short grass and look at Minwoo here at some of his ratings. He doesn't rate very well there either. Let's see. That is, I need to dig into Minwoo a little more, but from an eye test thing perspective, he's a guy to me that would really suit this place. You know, he can pitch from anywhere, can drive the ball, big length. The irons are always the question with him. I think he suits it well. He's proven that he can play well in majors. I think Minwoo is a very good play at 73. The odds are, they back me up that he's solid as well. This kind of tier right here all rates out pretty well from an odds perspective. Tom Kim, Sam Burns, Corey Connors, all solid in my model as well. Connors would be the worry for me out of those. Irons are great, but does he have the short game to compete here? Whereas Sam Burns, I think he's a great fit. Can this be finally where he plays well in a major? And Tom Kim, I think, is a great fit as well. So I think that entire 72, 73 range, even Robert McIntyre, whereas the odds don't love him. But I think he's a solid fit here. Is he done partying after the win in Canada? Probably not. So we'll see how that plays out. Ben On, I think he's another guy that along the same lines of a Minwoo Lee, pretty good around the green, pretty good, driver of the golf ball, good long iron player. I think he suits here. Odds are solid on him as well. I think he's good in the low sevens. Sungjae, Fowler, and Rose. No Fowler, no Rose for me. Sungjae potentially on the fringes. He's playing a little bit better, coming off an eighth and a ninth. The last two, a fourth there, a few starts ago. So, Sungjae, I think he's in play. Not been very good in U.S. Opens, but you could definitely look there. Dropping into the sixes, this is going to, kind of show you why Scotty's going to be 50% on this week. Russell Henley. I'm just going to name some names that are going to be playable, and it's pretty much this entire upper sixes to me. Russell Henley, chalk. Alex Noren, great fit to me. Brian Harmon, solid fit. Adam Scott, Dean Burmester, maybe on both of those. What are the odds telling us here? Telling us not to play Harmon or Scott. Dean is solid on the DK value. Look there. Siwoo Kim, playable. Keegan Bradley, playable. Denny McCarthy, short game magician, rates out good from an odds perspective. Harris English, Dietrich, Eckroat, great iron player. Taylor Moore, great short game. All of the upper 6K range there is playable. And we'll get down to the lower sixes here in a minute, and there's still some playable down there. Billy Horschel, another guy. My favorites, out of this range right now, and again, I don't have ownership or anything like that in front of me right now, but my favorites would be Alex Noren. Hopefully, he's a slight ownership discount to Russell Henley. I like Siwoo, but he does worry me a little bit about the around the green and the temperament. That can he be patient enough to do it? Denny and Harris English, I think, are on the short list for me. Those would be my top options there in the upper sixes. As we scroll on down, again, why is Scotty going to be 50% on? Because we have Sepp Straka at $6,500 coming off a fifth, miscut, eighth, fifth in his last 5 starts. And he's $6,500. 77-1. Second in the DK value ranking on the sheet. And mega chalk in the 6K range, I would assume. Tom Hoagie, solid iron player. Akshay, high upside guy. Kurt Kitayama, good long iron player. Lucas Glover, flop lag, maybe off of what's been a solid year, but off a horrid performance at the Memorial. Poston, short game guy. Cam Davis, solid fit, I think, here. All the low mid sixes here are solid plays. So Sepp, going to be interesting to see what his ownership is. And maybe that, there's some pivots down here, or maybe you just get on a different type of construction where you don't land in this range. Maybe go down to the 5s that, a lot of people probably aren't going to do. Maybe you end in the upper 7s or the upper 6s or low 7s. Down in the very low 6s, you've got, and we'll zoom in. This is where I really like to look at the value ranking. Moronk coming off live at 220-1 is 15th in the value ranking. Bezadenhout, 6,200 is 4th. Mackenzie Hughes and Adam Hadwin are top 15, 9th and 15th. Taylor Pendrith, 9th in that metric. Bezadenhout would be my favorite. He's been solid this year. Hughes is solid around the greens. I think he makes sense here. Pendrith is a little iffy for me. I don't trust the around the green as much as you may need here. He rates out solid, but from an eye test thing, I don't necessarily trust this type of fit for him. But Bez, I think, is solid. Hughes, solid. We'll move on down. Let's see. Davis Thompson rates out decent from an odds perspective. Vic Perez, 6,100, been playing really well. Not really much sticking out to me here. David Puig, we're now down in the 5s. Puig coming off a live. He's number 9 in the value ranking. Svensson, man, there's no way I can play Adam Svensson. He ranks 12th in the value ranking. Great iron player. No putter. Don't love the short game. Just no. Puig, I think, he's interesting. And then you've got Meissner and Dunlap at 5,800 who right out at the top of the value ranking. Again, Meissner is a guy that I need to dig in a little more. Let's do that right now. He's a guy that I've been playing. I played him when he got the top 5, actually, at 5% or less ownership. Did play last year at LACC, missed the cut. Let's see. Odds love him. On our sheet here, he ranks out 10th around the green. Interesting. Where does he rank in that short, scrambling short grass? Let's see here. 20th. Around the green, last 50, 15th. Sand saves 15th. Man, this is scary. 3-putt avoidance, kind of middle of the road. Vic Perez rates out good in that stat. Xander rates out good in that stat. Wyndham Clark rates out good. Number 1 in 3-putt avoidance. Cameron Smith, best putter in the field. Imagine that. DJ rakes out. He's always been a good lag putter. Minwoo Lee. There we go. Maybe putt off the green. Minwoo. Spieth. Griot. Those are some of the guys on the lag putting. That Moronk rates there as well. So solid. So yeah, I think Meissner is in play. I don't think anybody's clicking Mac Meissner. He rates out good on the odds board, but man, I don't think people are going to do it. Well, maybe we'll play around with some builds with either a Meissner or Dunlap. Build short game, good numbers wise in a lot of different areas. So pretty much anything you look at, short grass, normal around the green, interesting. Keimer, winner 2014, rates out 21st. Interesting. Probably not going to get there. The rest is pretty much junk. Big talent from Gordon Sargent. I don't think you're playing him at a place like this. I don't even know who Maxwell Moldovan is. That's probably sounds like a made-up player. Probably somebody I should know, and people will make fun of me for that. But and I'll have my highlights up. I'm probably going to do that tonight, right when we get off the show. But the rankings, just for a preview, and then we'll play around with some builds. This is what our rankings tab looks like: 9K and above, 75 to 89, or usually it's 7 and 8 together. I'll probably change that, and then below 7s would be the third tier. That'll be up tomorrow. So let's play around with some builds. So let's go Scotty Scheffler. Let's just play the chalky, build, like I said, to kind of just show, what are people going to do. This would be probably like a cash game, chalkiest type of build you could do. Russell Henley, Sepp Straka. Can you do it? You have 7,100 left for 2 spots. So you come down here and you can still play, maybe you play Alex Noren and Tom Kim. Is that possible? Yeah. Yeah, Alex Noren, Tom Kim, somebody in that 73 range. Personally, I would not build that way. Yeah, we're gonna have to all play a little Meister now. He's, like I said, he's a guy that I've been on. I was on him when he was 5th. He was in my single entry that week. But man, I did not. He was coming off a solid outing at Myrtle Beach and hopped on it kind of Wednesday midday that week. Yeah, we're gonna have to play some Meister. So I would not go with that build personally. I think it's way too chalky. You're going to have so much overlap. You're going to end up doing 1v1, 2v2s against people, especially if you're playing in like the big Millie Maker or something. And a lot of these tournaments have big fields this week. I just wouldn't go that chalky. So let's just kind of see, something that I would think maybe a Scotty build of, what could you do with that? Can you play 2 8K guys? Let's try that one first. So you got maybe Fleetwood Decky, leaves you $6,800. I mean, you can do, Sepp Straka. At that point, you got 7. You're still, you end up in that type of tier. I think these type of builds are where like the Meissner type play, could make some sense because when you throw him in, it gets you off of the chalky mid and high 6K range. You could play one of those guys instead of two. Maybe you play like an Alex Noren, so you're not playing the chalkiest, I don't think, pieces. Then you get up into the upper sevens where I don't think people are going to play. And unfortunately, I don't love the upper sevens. Hatton, Lowry, Thagala. But, pick you one out there and, go for it or leave money and play Minwoo. You would leave $500 on the table. That's not crazy. Let's see. What else could you do with this build? If you had Meissner, let's just say maybe you do Brooks. What can we do with Brooks here? 7150 with Meissner, Noren. So then you could do Minwoo Lee. And then you got 7K that you could land on Russell Henley, leave some and play Sepp Straka. You could play, we already got Noren, but you could play Siwoo, Keegan, McCarthy, Harris English. A lot of those guys make options. So there's the two stud build that's very doable, especially with like a Meissner type build, type player. I really like Noren. I really, we'll definitely play around with a non-Scotty build as well. You're gonna have to get and maybe a non-top 3 build. Let's do that one. So I would probably anchor that with Brooks and see if we could do like a Brooks, Collin, Fleetwood. Let's just see here. Brooks, Collin. Oh yeah. Oh. Yeah, 7,900 there for the last spot. Maybe you lose $100 on Minwoo and get up to Hideki for the last spot, or you lose maybe 100 and drop from Noren to Sepp and get to Hideki in that spot, something to that effect. Could you do like a Brooks, Collin, Bryson build? Get rid of Minwoo for a second. Leaves you 60 for the last 3, 6,800. That's more than doable. Yeah. See, so what you see a lot here is you're going to have a 2v2 towards the end of like a Meissner upper 5 guy and probably a mid to high 7s versus the 2 right around 7K. And, I'm a little unsure. Maybe can you play Hideki? Ooh. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Because you skip, one of those guys. You're only playing one of those 6Ks in that type of build, but you get 4 studs. Brooks, Collin, Decky, Bryson. I wouldn't be surprised if any of those 4 won. Non-Scotty build. You throw Meissner in there to skip the chalky, 6s, and then you're back up to your last spot can still be like a Sepp, Straka if you wanted the chalkier version of this lineup. Denny, Harris English. I think those are interesting builds. I'm definitely throwing some I'm definitely going to throw some Meissner in the $15 millie. We're going to ship the millie with Mac Meissner this week, guys, until he quad bogeys number 1. Gamble responsibly. So that's just playing around with some builds that I like. Preferred route, Scotty. Who can I pair with him to get a little different? Looking at ownership tomorrow, I'll have all of my thoughts updated on that. As maybe I'll post a few different top pairings once I review ownership and things, and we'll go from there. I'll have ranks, I'll have cores for round 1 showdown and full tournament, and then we'll have updates throughout the weekend. I will be there Sunday. Won't help us a whole lot, with preparation, as I'll probably be getting there even for showdown, because I'll probably be getting there around the time of lock, or maybe even a little after lock on Sunday for showdown. But can't wait to be down there on Sunday. Enjoy the final round. Hopefully it's not a runaway like it was last time 10 years ago when I was there, and we were just trying to will Ricky Fowler to somehow give Keimer a run, but he didn't. So good luck to everybody this week. Like I said, really excited. We'll be in the Discord a lot tomorrow as we finalize some builds, answer any questions. Let's take one down this week. Good luck.